When you first learn to discern your spirit, one of the first things you'll discover is your spirit is capable of doing lots of things. Things you could never fathom. Some things which we're going to talk about right now. Hey, I'm author Michael Ramsey, and this is Michael Ramsey Books, where I show people how to transform their ordinary relationship with God into a spiritual one. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, be sure to hit the red subscribe button and ring the notification bell now. Mark 4:39. And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." The first thing you'll find when your spirit wakes up is you're able to communicate with the Lord in a way that eludes other Christians and is foolishness to people who aren't Christians. You ask, and the Lord responds, sometimes immediately, and sometimes by means of light. In an instant, you see everything, the big picture, the nitty-gritty details, and everything in between, and from God's perspective. Even though this newly acquired, mind-boggling experience is off the chart, supernaturally amazing, it's not the goal or the final objective of our most unusual journey. It is your new beginning. When it happens for the first time, it's not the top of the mountain, it is a door you've just passed through. And when it happens for the first time, there's no mistake as to what happened. It will be as plain as day. It will take your breath away. You'll say, "Aha, this is what Mike was talking about." And by the way, if you've been coming along with me on this journey and you have yet to experience light, don't be discouraged. It was about 9 months into my journey before I experienced light for the first time. It was by far way more amazing than anything I had ever seen or heard of in my life. And once you experience light, you'll never be the same. You will have crossed over and become an overcomer, a spiritual Christian. You'll also know instantly who else is and who else isn't. As I pointed out in earlier videos, nothing in the spiritual realm is cookie cutter. The Holy Spirit has a personalized, customized training plan specifically for you. We have a very thorough God who isn't lazy. He doesn't forget and he doesn't miss. He knows that everyone is different. What you need and when you need it is completely different from everyone else in the world. Out of his loving kindness for you, he has carefully studied you and he has put a plan in place just for you. As you continue along with me on this journey and you commit all things to him, you will experience light. Even though I'll be talking about some things in these next few videos, things you may not have experienced quite yet, you should still pay close attention. Because when you do, that is, when you cross over, this information will be extremely valuable to you. With that said, today I need to mention some of the other ways the Lord communicates with you. These aren't the only ways. There are some things we'll need to talk more about in future videos. Sometimes the Lord stirs your spirit. Sometimes you receive light, direct revelation from God. Sometimes you're given a burden. Sometimes he places you in unusual circumstances before he shows you. And sometimes he uses other people. And by the way, when the Lord uses other people to point something out to you, it's not in the form of them sitting you down and having a talk or offering you advice. As a spiritual Christian, you're the adult in the room, whether they know it or not, because they probably don't. But that doesn't mean you can't learn something from them. But you must be very careful. They're children, spiritually speaking. In a future video, we'll need to talk more about managing your relationship with other Christians who aren't spiritual. Stay tuned. As you grow spiritually, you'll notice how much the Lord speaks to you and other people constantly in many and various ways. Each time He does, each time you see something, your spirit moves. As it does, you become more and more familiar with the delicate movements of your spirit. As you become more familiar with the movements of your spirit, you'll quickly see. Your spirit sees all sorts of things about other things and other people. It sees things you don't. The Lord reveals things to it that you're not aware of. Soon you'll find yourself depending upon it for all things. Soon you'll want to know what your spirit says before you give your say. Soon you'll find yourself chasing after the Spirit. This is normal for spiritual Christians. When you read through the Gospels, isn't this what Jesus did? He was able to tune out the noise and purely follow His Spirit. A good example of this is when He fell asleep in the boat during the storm. The disciples, seeing the storm, the raging sea, knew for sure that it was the end. But Jesus was sound asleep. He wasn't worried about a thing. He wasn't careless. He was carefully following the Spirit. Do you see how different things are when you follow the Spirit? It takes the guesswork out of your decisions. You're not swayed by the noise. You're not fooled by bad advice. You're not as likely to make the same mistake of the unnamed prophet who is tricked into disobeying the Lord. Once you become more familiar with the gentle stirrings of your spirit, you must learn to depend on your spirit for most things. At the same time, don't get too carried away and inquire of your spirit what you should have for dinner or not, unless you suspect there could be a problem with the food. Don't expect your spirit to predict the stock market or make decisions for you at work, but let it tell you if someone is trying to cheat you or trick you, and then inquire of the Lord as to what you should do. Honestly, doesn't this sound like a better way to live? Isn't it better to be able to see rather than grappling around in the dark, worrying about the waves? Again, we're just getting started. We're still crawling, but you're going to learn how to walk spiritually if you commit all things to Him and continue along with me on this most unusual journey. Next time, next step. Again, if you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, be sure and do so now. That way you don't miss a single video. Can't wait until next time. Like me on Facebook and visit me at michaelramseybooks.com.